611 here. Been a long time since some videos. So I was going through school and work full time for a good 3 years there and finally got done with that. So now we can do some more videos. I got some time finally. So what we got today is a 1998 Polaris Sportsman 500 and got a pretty good deal on it. Just needs some fuel work. So got a new carburetor, fuel pump, petcock, and we're doing all the fluids. Front diff, oil, let's see, that's the oil right there. And then you got your angle drive and your demand drive and AGL and stuff. So yeah, you know, oil filter and fuel filter and whatnot. So got it already tore apart here just to get it ready for the video. And we got the rest of the parts laying down here. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get into routing all the fuel lines and starting that up. All right, so now we've got our reserve and fuel on hooked up. Reserve is on the left, fuel on is on the right. And you got two outputs on the tank. Back in there. You can kind of see them in the background there. There they are, back in there. So one's lower than the other. So, tank's actually kind of dirty. But we got them hooked up right. That's what's important. So now, I'm gonna plumb in our fuel pump and the new fuel filter. All right, so we have our petcock mounted. And I'm just gonna go ahead and tell y'all, make sure to buy Polaris brand petcocks, because the one I got, they all three shoot straight out the back. So instead of it having these 90s like this one does, they all three just come straight out. So kind of a pain in the butt. We're ready to put on the carburetor. So I don't even know if this thing even has a brand name. No idea what that is. All right, so I got the choke hooked up. Carburetor actually came with, the new one actually came with new brass and stuff, so that was nice. I'm getting my throttle cable seated back in, and it actually came with a new brass piece. So, gotta attempt to slide that in and get all that hooked up. So far, so good on the fuel pump though, and also, just so you know, the fuel pump back here, it takes a 5/16 wrench to get to the nuts that are on the back side behind it on the frame. It's really hard to get to them because they're behind the framework there and behind the oil reservoir, so there's really no good way to get to them. So kudos to Polaris for designing that. I'll go ahead and get the throttle cable mounted, and then I'll show me trying to tighten it up. All right, so we got our brass piece mounted in that holds the throttle cable into the throttle assembly. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna adjust the slack out of our throttle cable. See, there's a little bit of slack. So I'm gonna move the throttle, and you can see it kind of pulling on it. So I want that slack to kind of go away just a little bit here. So that way it does not hit our kill switch. But you want enough where you can adjust your idle. So right about there. It's got to be pretty much perfect. And then you can adjust your jam nut down and set that. Now our throttle is tight, and now it should open and close correctly. So now what we're going to focus on is getting the carburetor mounted and hooking in the fuel lines and vacuum lines. So be right back. Okay, so now we have the fuel line and vacuum line hooked up over here. We got our fuel line over here on this side. So now what I'm going to do is put our cover on for the throttle assembly. Okay, so we have our 4 screws in now. Just make sure you put those in before you hook up the fuel line. Just made that mistake. So now we're gonna go ahead and seat our carburetor back into the intake boot. All right, we have got all our bolts tight and we have we've got all our vacuum lines hooked up. There are two drain lines in case you flip over. They go into the frame right here. At least that's where it was when I bought it. Vacuum line. Got our fuel pump and everything primed. I'm gonna turn the fuel on. So we're gonna attempt starting it. So here we go. Wow, that was easy. Okay, I'm totally kidding. I already started it, so it took a minute. I had to prime the fuel pump and everything, but so far, so good. And by that I mean no fuel leaks, because this thing used to absolutely just dump the fuel. It looks nice and dry. And the fuel pump never really leaked, but it sucked, so we got our original switch back on. That's neat though, the original switch does fit, so I was able to reuse that, because the one they sent with it, that would not work. So now I'm going to work on installing the air box and hooking up our crankcase breather and our breather for the air box for the pulleys clutch assembly and the output for the pulleys clutch assembly. And then we'll throw the plastics on it and take it for a test drive. All right, we got everything ready to go. We're gonna put the air box in now. I just want to say, I know this is not a stock airbox cover. When I bought this four-wheeler, it was missing two things: the airbox cover and the throttle cover. So now that I work in heating and air and I know how to work with sheet metal, we were able to manufacture a airbox cover out of some decently thick sheet metal and create a great seal all the way around, to the point where the new airbox cover is functional and the throttle cover is functional. And we used RTV gasket maker to form a seal all the way around. And we didn't use a crap ton. I know how people get with that, but so I'm gonna see, let's go wide on this. Boom. Go ahead and move some stuff out the way. Yep, there's one thing I gotta do before I set the box down in there. I have to put the pipe that goes from here to over here on real quick. So I'm gonna do that right quick and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we have the tubing from the crankcase that goes down into the pulley assembly put back in. So now we're ready to install our airbox. So now, the way this sits in here is you get rid of the trash. That goes down out of the way. And there's two little tents right here. You can see them. And they slide into two little rubber bushings down inside here. Down here. So I'm gonna slide those down into there. There we go. Now, we can just push it down in. We gotta try and bring our boot into the carburetor up over the top at the same time as we push down, which is kind of a pain in the butt with these two big air tubes right in the way. There we go. There. So now the airbox is down in where it's supposed to be. So I'm gonna work on getting the boot on real quick and then we'll come right back. We've got our little clamp on and just take you a lovely DeWalt driver there. All right, we got the airbox tight. Everything is tight, so we're gonna get ready to put in our bolts that actually hold the airbox in place, which are just some Phillips head drives with a nut on the back. Now, the airbox is installed with our homemade cover that we had to make because apparently for the 1998 model year Polarises, the Polaris company discontinued the airbox cover and the throttle cover. So you can find them online for about $100, but who wants to pay $100 for a piece of plastic? Not me. Not even that. So I made my own. We made it work. So now we're going to work on just kind of cleaning everything up, zip tying it, getting it all straightened up, and we'll throw the seat on and the side panels on, and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. Only you can prevent wildfires. All right, let's see it take off. I think she runs pretty good. Here she comes back now. Oh yeah. Well, she does burnouts. We took the seat back off and the side panels back off. We're gonna gunk the motor, spray it off, and try to clean it up a little bit. It's pretty nasty. We got the oil. Actually, in the process of this video, we did an oil change and a transmission fluid change. So, I mean, I'll do a video on that in the future. It was just to get this thing up and running, but it's definitely gonna need to be done again because it has not been done in a long time. Like literally, I'd say a quarter of a quart came out of the transmission. And in 98, you know, Polaris had the transmission built into the differential. So it's a whole thing together, right? But like my other Polaris, the one that's sitting outside, it's not. They're separate. They have drive shafts. So the next video is going to be either of the Honda 4Trax or the... It's either going to be the Honda 4Trax or it's going to be the Polaris 700. We're going to upgrade the wiring on the 700 and we're going to do a full top-end rebuild with timing chain on the Honda 4Trax. And it needs it because it's clanking bad. I don't like it. I don't want to risk being somewhere on a trail and boom, there goes the timing chain. So we're gonna spend some time on the little Honda 4Trax because that thing was a steal and it's a great four-wheeler. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good night.